Welcome to Integrations and Observations. My name is Ali Yousefi. In this video, we're going to look at the GitHub REST API, how to authenticate, and look at some common operations. All right, in this video, we're going to cover the GitHub API. We'll talk about some authentication methods. Uh, we'll look at the common objects and operations, and then we'll perform a demo of authenticating and then working with some of the operations. For the API overview, there's two versions as of today. There's the RESTful API as well as a GraphQL API. The RESTful API offers the familiarity, the compatibility that we're used to, while the GraphQL offers advanced queries that can help reduce interactions, the chattiness that RESTful calls would require. We can specify specifically what we're looking for, be it user, repo, commits, releases, all in one single call with GraphQL, where we may have to make multiple calls with the RESTful API. So first, to begin working with the APIs, we need to authenticate with them. So there's two main ways of authenticating, one being the basic authentication, and then one being multi-factor authentication. Basic will work with username and password, which is deprecated here, but it'll work with GitHub apps, with OAuth, and with personal access tokens or PATs. Remember when you're working with GitHub apps that they have their own identity and they work under that premise, where OAuth apps are actually act as a user, where whatever authorization that user would have, then that's how they would work as well. So personal access tokens, they are the recommended approach from GitHub for authentication. One of the benefits of them is they can be scoped to a particular specific area of the API, such as I want to update workflows, I want to look at repos or user information. They can be revoked, all of them at one time is the revoke all button you can see, and their usage can be monitored as well. If you look here, you can see on the security log, I can see when a authorization was created for both the Azure App Service as well as GraphQL. All right, for this video, we're going to do a demo where we're going to recreate a personal access token. We'll use that token with a curl command with command prompt. So we'll use it to work with the REST API to look at user, look at repos. Following demos, we'll look at some more objects using the REST API, including repositories, timelines, releases. Hope you enjoy. Okay, for the upcoming demo, I'll show how to create a personal access token in GitHub and connect to the GitHub REST API using curl. Okay, for this demo, we are going to cover how to create a personal access token to be used with the GitHub API. The GitHub API will allow us to programmatically query and perform actions on our GitHub repos. We can do things like monitor workflow logs. We can look at repo commits, even initiate certain things. So let's go ahead and get started. So here I pulled up my profile. Here on the top right, you'll see my picture. I can click on this image here, click on settings. And when I go to settings, I will go to developer settings here, kind of in the bottom left. And when I go to the developer settings, you can see I have GitHub apps, I have OAuth apps, and I have personal access tokens, which we'll be using. So let's click on personal access tokens. We'll click on that. You can see here it shows the existing tokens that I have. I can't actually read the token themselves, but I can, as an admin, I can come in and delete them. I could revoke them all if I needed to, and I can generate a new one. And these tokens will, as it says, be used with the GitHub API. So let's go ahead and create a new token here. So we'll create a new token. Let's give it a note. So we'll call it, we'll say using the GitHub API demo. And here you can see we can select different scopes. The scopes are all defined. If you click on this link here, you'll see that it'll tell you the various scopes and what they mean. For instance, if we wanted look at user, we can grant read-write access to profile info, maybe for repos as well, to see the status of them, etc. So I think that's what we'll do. So we'll go ahead and set up repo, and we'll set up user. If I scroll down, there's other options here that we'll use eventually, like workflow and so on. But for this, let's just set up these two, and we'll hit generate token. So let's take that token and open up Notepad, and we'll just store it in Notepad here. So at this point, we essentially have followed the create a personal access token URL that you see here in GitHub. From here, we're going to go to the API and actually perform an action, just simple one, just go look at users. In this case, they recommend using curl and using the API. So we'll go follow a similar approach. So to work with curl, you want to open up command line. And you can see here, I've already had one open. Let's open up a new one. So just hit CMD, and you'll want to type in curl, put your username in GitHub, take that PAT that you had, paste it in there, do HPS API github.com, and I think it's just we're just going to do user, right? So we'll just do user. Oh. So we'll take our notepad here and fix that. Ah, that's what we missed. We missed the argument -u for user. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. There we go. So you can see I have me and my name, my email address, etc. And that finds my user. If I ever needed to find like my repos, you can see I can take my username here and add repos to the end. So I could say users, so add the S at the end of user and put your name, make sure you spell it right, and type in repos. And you'll get all your different repos with the URLs for assignees, like teams. If you want to hook into it, have some webhooks, which are going to be very useful going forward. You can see subscribers that you have, contributors, issues. If you ever want to see specific issues on one, you could maybe take that. So you pretty much have quite a few different URLs that you can use to grab information that, like you would through the GUI. So in this case, what we've done is we have created a personal access token, and we have used the API to query myself and then go look at my repos. Okay, for this demo, I'm going to show how you can work with the user objects with the GitHub REST API, how to work with the repos that a user may own, work with commits, and work with milestones and releases. Alrighty, let's work with personal access tokens and the GitHub REST API. So I'm first going to start by opening up command prompt. You can see here, bring this over. We're going to use my personal access token that I generated in the previous demo, and we're going to go work with the user. As you can see here, let's make this a little bit bigger, see what we're working with. So you can see for the user, I can see these kind of information here, according to the name, the email address, etc. If I want to find out more, maybe about the repos, for instance, I can find here, use the users object and see more about them and see that I have repos and so on here. Do you see repos? So I can simply run repos and get all the different repos I have with all the URLs. Now, if I want to actually work with a repo, let's check that out. So we're going to look at the monitoring the Power Platform right here. Let me add that to here. And you can see here, I have for repo, I have the ID, I have the name, the full name, who the owner of it is. I have the URL to get to it, a description of it, how to, for the fork URL, collaboration, commits, subscriber URLs, all the different ones that maybe collaborators could use. My SSH and Git URLs here, when it was created, the releases and deployments as well, and of course the license that I'm using. So that's going to be helpful, and this is nice. On each repo, I can see the open issues. Okay, so speaking of open issues, let's go ahead and add, let's just take our repo and add the word issues on the end. Now we can see that I have these open ones here, and I can see update Dynamics artifact 02. We have someone who had said they had read the blog and wanted to know more about some of this information here. You can see it has the tags can be added, etc. So we have the open issues, which is pretty neat there. You can see the conversation that happened. For any commits, if I wanted to see commits, same thing. I could simply add commits to the repo, and I can see the different commits with the SHA hash, with my the comments that are on it as well. So if I wanted to, I could take a comment and see what this one was. Here's the message for when I committed it, this add monitor tool images here. And then here's the commit URL specifically. So that's going to be helpful when we want to go forward to looking at commits and pull requests and how developers would work with the API. Finally, for milestones and releases, we'll just quickly look at we'll just change commits to milestones. One thing that I noticed when testing this is that if there's no milestones that are open, it'll be empty here. Same with releases. If you don't have any releases, then it's not going to give us anything. So for instance, these are empty, but if I want to maybe add a milestone, I can bring this in, go to my same one that I'm in, maybe go to issues here and create a milestone. Say milestone demo, and we'll give it a date. Let's go with November 18th and test descript. And we'll create our milestone that's due on the 18th. Let's try this again. Oh, and now we have the update it created on, which is here, due on the 18th, and the name of it. So this is helpful if you wanted to track milestones for maybe popular repos that you're interested in here. Same with releases as well. So that concludes the demo. So thank you.
So there you have it. We've connected to the GitHub API using a personal access token. We have looked up user information. We've looked up repo information, looking at open issues, open milestones, releases, any commits that have happened. Now you could take that personal access token and the documentation from GitHub and now like look up all sorts of things, maybe even interact with the workflows as we'll discuss later. But this is the first piece, is the authentication and just basic operations. So I hope you've enjoyed it and look forward to seeing you again.
So as you can see on this slide, I've listed some of the common operations from the demo, including how to retrieve user information using the users piece of the API. You can list out the repos that are owned by a particular owner, open issues that they may have. For commits, we can also look at the commits and as well as the milestones and releases. Now these need to be, active releases as shown, as well as open milestones. Finally, we'll leave with some references to the GitHub documentation for users' issues, for working with the Git database, and then also working with releases and milestones. I'll add these to the comments below. Thank you for watching.